These are the 7 things every beginner needs to know before planting their first container garden. From choosing the right potting mix to feeding on a schedule, and getting even one of them wrong can mean the difference between a thriving harvest and a pot full of dead plants. Before we dig in, I've got a quick question for you, and I genuinely want to see your answer in the comments. What's the very first plant you're hoping to grow in your container garden, and what's been holding you back from starting? Drop it below, because I read every single comment. Container gardening is the single fastest growing trend in home gardening right now, with the global market hitting nearly $15 billion in 2024 and projected to almost double by 2034. And 2026 has actually been declared the year of container gardening. So if you've been thinking about starting one, you're right on time. Here's what most people don't realize. Container gardening isn't just a consolation prize for people without a yard. In many situations, it's actually a superior way to grow food. You control the soil quality, you manage watering precisely, and you position your plants exactly where they'll get the best sunlight. Containers warm up faster in spring, which extends your growing season. You can move heat-loving tomatoes to the warmest spot on your property, then relocate tender herbs indoors when frost threatens. No tilling, dramatically fewer weeds, and you can do all of this on a balcony, a porch, a doorstep, or even a sunny windowsill. So let's walk through everything you need to know to get your first container garden right the first time. The first thing is choosing the right container, and this is where most beginners make their initial mistake. It usually happens because they grab whatever looks cute at the store without thinking about what the plant actually needs. Start with containers that are at least 12 inches wide and 12 inches deep. Anything smaller and your plant is going to be thirsty, root-bound, and stressed out before you know it. For specific sizing, think in terms of gallons. Small containers under 2 gallons work beautifully for herbs like basil, parsley, or chives. Medium containers in the 2 to 3 gallon range suit leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and arugula. 5-gallon containers are the workhorse of container gardening. You can grow peppers, eggplant, cucumbers, okra, potatoes, even ginger and turmeric in a 5-gallon container. And for bigger, more vigorous plants like tomatoes and sweet potatoes, go large and give them room. Match your soil depth to your crop. 6 to 8 inches for small plants, 10 to 12 inches for medium crops, and 18 inches or more for large vegetables. Now let's talk materials. Plastic containers often get a bad reputation, but they're fantastic for beginners. They're affordable, durable, easy to clean, and shatterproof, which makes them great if you've got kids around. You can often find them for free from local farms or nurseries. Fabric grow bags are another excellent option. They're breathable, foldable, and surprisingly effective at promoting healthy root growth. Terracotta and clay pots look beautiful, but they dry out faster than plastic or glazed pots, so you'll need to water more frequently. And here's a tip most people miss. Avoid black or dark-colored containers for vegetables. Dark colors absorb more heat, which dries out your soil faster and can actually cook your plant's roots. One more thing worth knowing. A fully planted container can weigh over 80 pounds. If you're gardening on a balcony or need to move things around, go with lightweight materials or containers that have built-in wheels. But here's the non-negotiable rule for any container you choose. It must have drainage holes. No drainage holes means a death trap for your plants. As Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension, puts it, proper drainage is just as important as the amount of water added to the container. For containers 4 to 6 inches in diameter, you need 3 to 6 drainage holes, each about a 1/4 inch in size. Larger containers need 6 to 8 holes, and don't go bigger than a 1/4 inch per hole, or you'll lose too much soil. Almost anything that holds soil and drains properly can become a container garden. Terracotta pots, plastic buckets, wooden boxes, fabric grow bags, even repurposed whiskey barrels or storage bins. Get creative with it. The second thing is soil, and this one is absolutely critical. If you take nothing else from this, take this. Never use garden soil in your containers, and never use dirt from your backyard. This is probably the single biggest mistake beginners make, and it can severely hold your plants back before they even get started. Garden soil is too heavy for containers. It compacts, restricts drainage, and can introduce diseases, pests, and weed seeds. The soil from your yard is unlikely to carry the right nutrients, and it won't provide proper drainage and aeration in a container environment. What you want is a quality potting mix specifically formulated for containers. Look for something light and airy, well-draining, porous, nutrient-rich, and moisture-retentive. That might sound like a contradiction, wanting something that drains well but also holds moisture. But a good potting mix actually does both. The key ingredients to look for are peat moss, perlite or vermiculite, and compost. Most quality potting mixes are slightly acidic, which happens to work well for the majority of vegetables and herbs you're likely to grow. As gardening expert Richa Kedia explains, a mix of peat moss, vermiculite, and perlite works best. If you want to make your own, the most basic recipe is a 50-50 blend of sphagnum, peat moss, and perlite. Add some compost for nutrients, and you've got a solid growing medium, essentially a variation of the classic Cornell mix, the soilless growing formula developed decades ago that became the foundation of modern container gardening. And if you'd prefer a more sustainable option, coconut coir works similarly to peat moss and is a popular eco-friendly alternative you'll see in a lot of newer potting mixes. The right soil can literally double your yields compared to a poor mix, which makes soil quality the single most significant factor in your container gardening success. Mark Bolt, VP of Earthbox, captures it well. The best container soils balance air, water, and nutrition. One more thing on soil. Even potting mixes that come with added fertilizer run out faster than the bag suggests, usually within 4 to 6 weeks. After that, your plant is essentially surviving on whatever nutrients happen to dissolve in your water, which brings us to the next point. Quick check-in before we keep going. I'm curious about your setup at home. Are you planning to grow on a balcony, a porch, a windowsill, or somewhere else entirely? Let me know in the comments and tell me how much sunlight that spot gets, because it makes a huge difference for what you should plant. The third thing is picking your first plants. If you're just starting out, resist the urge to grow everything at once. Start with plants that are forgiving, fast-growing, and genuinely useful in your kitchen. Herbs are your best friends here. They're some of the easiest and most rewarding container plants you can grow. Basil, parsley, cilantro, thyme, and mint are all excellent choices. Most culinary herbs mature quickly and don't need deep root systems, making them perfect for window boxes and small patio pots. If you had to pick the single easiest herb for a beginner, chives win. They're low maintenance, tolerant of less than perfect light, and they grow back quickly every time you harvest them. Now here's a fun fact about mint. It's a gorgeous potted plant that comes back year after year, but there's a reason experienced gardeners always grow it in containers. Mint spreads aggressively underground through runners, and once it gets into a garden bed, it's incredibly difficult to eliminate. A container keeps it right where it belongs. So when someone tells you to grow mint in a pot, they're not limiting you. They're saving you from a future headache. Beyond herbs, tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, radishes, and strawberries are all excellent container choices. For flowers, pretty much all annuals perform well, including petunias, marigolds, and nasturtiums. Just make sure to choose compact or dwarf varieties when growing vegetables for the best results in containers. The fourth thing is sunlight, and you need to be honest about how much you actually get. This is where a lot of container gardens quietly fail. People put their pots wherever is convenient, rather than wherever gets the most sun. Most vegetables require 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. Fruit-bearing plants like tomatoes, eggplant, squash, and peppers are the hungriest for light, needing more than 8 hours of full sun. A south or west-facing exposure is your prime real estate. But not everything needs that much light, and that's actually good news. Lettuce, spinach, and other greens thrive with just 3 to 5 hours of sunlight per day. Most herbs need at least 4 hours, so if your space is partially shaded, you're not out of the game. You just need to choose your plants accordingly. And if you're growing indoors without a strong south-facing window, LED grow lights are a practical solution that makes year-round container gardening genuinely achievable. This is one of the great advantages of container gardening. You can chase the sun, move your containers throughout the season to catch the best light, put your tomatoes in the sunniest corner, and tuck your lettuce somewhere a bit cooler and shadier. The fifth thing is watering, and it's the skill that makes or breaks everything. Container plants dry out much faster than plants in the ground, and during the growing season, you'll likely need to water daily or every other day. When temperatures hit 80 to 90 degrees, plan on watering every day. When it climbs above 90, you might need to water twice. Hanging baskets with coconut fiber sides can need water 2 or even 3 times per day in summer. Early in spring, when plants are smaller and temperatures are lower, you might get away with watering every 3 to 4 days. But as things heat up, your containers will get thirsty fast. The most reliable way to know when to water is the finger test. Stick your finger into the soil up to your second knuckle, about 1 to 2 inches deep, near the base of the plant. If it feels dry at that depth, water. If it's still moist, wait. Other signs to watch for include soil pulling away from the edges of the pot, wilting leaves especially in the morning, a dry and light-colored soil surface, or the container feeling noticeably lighter when you lift it. When you do water, water thoroughly. Soak the entire soil profile until water drains freely from the bottom, and use a gentle shower pattern like natural rain. A hard blast won't soak in properly. It'll just run off the surface and down the sides. Water in the morning, so your plant has all day to absorb what it needs, and the foliage dries completely before nightfall. Wet leaves overnight create a breeding ground for fungal diseases. And the #1 killer of indoor herbs? Overwatering. When in doubt, wait another day. If keeping up with daily watering sounds overwhelming, self-watering containers are worth considering. These are cleverly designed pots with a built-in water reservoir at the bottom. The growing medium sits on a perforated platform above the reservoir, and water wicks up to the roots as needed. They eliminate the guesswork, promote healthier root growth, and let you ignore your containers for a few days without disaster. The University of Maryland has even researched designs using repurposed 5-gallon buckets. Thousands of those buckets get thrown away every day, and turning them into self-watering mini gardens is both smart and sustainable. The sixth thing is feeding your plants. Remember what I said about potting mix fertilizer running out in 4 to 6 weeks? That means you need a feeding plan, because container plants are completely dependent on you for nutrients. There's no surrounding ecosystem for them to draw from. You've got two main options. Water-soluble fertilizer gets absorbed quickly and should be applied every 2 to 3 weeks, or you can mix it to half strength and apply it weekly for a steadier supply. The other option is slow-release fertilizer pellets, coated with a polymer that dissolves at varied rates and feeds your plants for 60 to 120 days depending on the brand. Osmocote is probably the most widely known, and you'll find it at most garden centers. The key is consistency. Inconsistent feeding is one of the most common causes of poor performance in container gardens. Plants respond best to a steady supply of nutrients. When feeding is irregular, growth stalls and restarts, leading to stress, uneven development, and reduced yields. Light, regular feeding always produces better results than occasional heavy applications. And every 1 to 2 years, refresh your container soil by mixing in new potting mix and fertilizer, because old soil loses its structure and nutrient-holding capacity over time. The seventh thing is the mistakes that will kill your garden. Let me run through the biggest ones so you can sidestep them entirely. Don't overcrowd your containers. It's tempting to cram in more plants, but containers have limited space and limited nutrients. When plants compete, they all suffer. The counterintuitive truth is that fewer plants per container actually equals more yield. Don't mix plants with different needs in the same pot. If one plant wants full sun and daily water, while another prefers shade and drier conditions, one of them is going to lose. Group plants with similar requirements together. Don't ignore the calendar. Container plants are more sensitive to temperature swings because they lack the natural insulation of ground soil. Before you plant anything, check your RUSDA hardiness zone and your local last frost date. These two things tell you exactly when it's safe to put warm season plants outside. Cool weather crops like spinach, lettuce, and peas should go out in early spring or fall. Warm season plants like tomatoes and peppers need to wait until after your last frost date and temperatures are consistently warm. You can also try succession planting, staggering your plantings every 2 to 3 weeks to keep a continuous harvest going rather than everything ripening at once. And don't plant in the wrong size container. Too big and the soil stays soggy, inviting root rot. Too small and you're watering constantly while your plants struggle for space. Match the container to the plant. So let's bring this all together. Container gardening transforms any sunny spot into a productive growing space. You don't need a yard, and you don't need experience. You need the right container, with drainage holes, a quality potting mix that is never garden soil, plants matched to your sunlight, a consistent watering routine, and a steady feeding schedule. Get those 5 things right, and you'll be amazed at what you can grow in just a few square feet. Start small. Grab a couple of 5-gallon containers, fill them with good potting mix, plant some herbs and maybe a cherry tomato. Put them in your sunniest spot, and pay attention. That's it. That's your first container garden, and everything else you'll learn by doing. The year of container gardening is here. Your porch, your balcony, your front steps, they're all waiting. Go grow something. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 7 things surprised you the most? And which one do you think you've been getting wrong until now? Tell me in the comments, and if you're starting your first container garden this week, comment, "I'm growing," so I can cheer you on. And if this guide helped you feel ready to start, do me a quick favor. Give this video a like. It genuinely helps more beginner gardeners find it. Subscribe to Plant Care Secrets TV and turn on the bell so you never miss a new plant care guide. And if you want to support the channel and get even closer to the garden, tap that join button and become a member. I'll see you in the next one. Now go grow something.